Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session, What Youth Need Now. I am Leah Silverberg. I am a project manager at the After School Alliance, a nonprofit advocacy organization based out of Washington, D.C. And I run our youth voice initiatives at the Alliance. And most importantly for this session, I run and help coordinate our youth ambassador program. Today, you're going to hear from two of our youth ambassadors from last year, Anaire Martinez and Minjae Kim, both amazing and wonderful youth who are going to share about their after-school experiences pre, during, and post-pandemic, and then respond to questions from you, the audience. So while we're kind of gearing up for that, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We'd love to hear who you are, where you're coming from, why you joined today's session, any of those things. And while we're going through the beginning of this presentation, just think about questions that you might have for both Minjae and Anaire that we'll address at the end of this session. So going back one, if I can. I'm going to start off by telling you a bit about the After School Alliance Youth Ambassador Program. Our Youth Ambassador Program has been going on for about 5 years now. We've gone through 6 cohorts of youth who have gone through various advocacy trainings with the After School Alliance. Typically, our program runs for about 6 months and takes place entirely virtually, pre-pandemic as well. We have about 1 call a month with our youth where we discuss topics like writing letters to your local newspaper, where we talk about how to advocate for your program at the local level, where we talk about what advocacy means, and where we go through students' stories and help them hone their own messaging to best have adults listen to the important words that they have to tell them. The program, like I said, consists of about 6 months of training, 1 call a month. And from there, at the end, it culminates typically during non-pandemic times in a trip to Washington, D.C., where students are set up with meetings with their legislators to talk about why their after-school programs are important to them. Other events that our youth participate in throughout the course of their ambassadorship include our now annual Youth Town Hall that kicks off Lights On After School, which is the After School Alliance's National Awareness Day for after-school programs nationwide. Throughout the program, youth are set up with a variety of speaking engagements, some of which I'll talk about more a little later. And then finally, we really like to see our youth as experts of their own experience. And as experts giving us guidance, we like to give our youth a stipend for their participation, which in the past, and depending on level of student involvement, has ranged from $500 to $1,000 for that student's participation. We also give a stipend to each student's program because we like for each of our students to have a mentor from their program to help us coordinate with youth, but then also to ensure that when we ask questions of youth, like, what's your outcomes data for your program? They have someone that they can turn to help them find those answers. And so just diving right in, whenever I do a session on youth voice, I think it's the most important thing to hear from youth themselves. Because like I said, the youth are the experts of their own experiences and who can speak to their experiences better than themselves. So I have a quick video before we jump into the general Q&A with our youth ambassadors, just highlighting the ambassadors that are here today, as well as some of our other youth ambassadors from the past year. Apologies while I get this set up really quickly. There we go.
I am part of the robotics team. What I love about it is the fact that I get to work with a lot of people
I've always had a passion for public speaking, for advocacy, and speech and debate gave me the access to do just that.
I feel like the most meaningful part of my after-school program would probably be the sense of community and family.
They're in a more safe environment where they can still be with friends and talk and have a fun time.
My after-school program has been very important. It gives us a hint of normal life before the pandemic.
Just that little time with those activities just really takes that stress away.
It just keeps us on our toes and keeps our minds working.
Even though it's 1 hour, it gives me hope that I'm not going to be alone for very much longer.
After-school programs gave me the ability and the opportunity to do the things that we've always been told that we're too small to do.
Tatar has been trying to help us achieve something that we wouldn't normally achieve.
They want to help you. They want you to be happy. It's a place where you can feel comfortable being who you are. That's something really great that I think a lot of people would benefit from.
After-school programs are vital and important, and we need funding to make sure that it can be sustainable for all.
So I love that video of our youth ambassadors sharing about their experiences. I really, again, you will hear me say this over and over again, but nothing beats having students sharing their stories over having someone sharing on their behalf. And so, like I said, our youth ambassadors have had a variety of speaking experiences. Those videos were produced for our now annual Youth Voice Week, where we share out the voices of youth across the country, including the voices of our youth ambassadors. But other examples of amazing opportunities our youth have been able to participate in include being on panels moderated by the U.S. Secretary of Education, providing guidance to the White House Domestic Policy Council. They've spoken at meetings of the National Council of State Legislators. They've presented at state level after-school summits and conferences like we're here today. One of our youth this year is speaking at South by Southwest EDU, and many, many more opportunities. I like to see my job as connecting youth to as many opportunities as possible to share out their voices, because when we're working on behalf of youth, we need to know what we're working toward, and the best guidance we can get is from them. And so, without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our two youth ambassadors who have joined us here today, Minche Kim and Anaire Martinez, to introduce themselves with their names, locations, after school program, and what grade you're in. So let's do alphabetical order. So Anaire, why don't you jump in first?
Hello, everyone. My name is Anaire Martinez. I am in 12th grade here in Miami, Florida. I am in 15 after-school clubs in my school, but I am representing speech and debate, the Honor Society, and the club, and I'm very, very excited to be here and sharing with you all.
Hi, my name is Minche Kim. I'm a high school junior currently, she, her, in New Jersey. I am representing our first robotics team here in our school district, Team 1676, and I'm excited to meet you.
So jumping right in, you guys, want to give us a little introduction of what your program is, what you do on the day-to-day? What's a typical day at your program look like?
Sorry, so for speech and debate, we meet the second Wednesday of every month. Pre-COVID, we used to meet inside of our classroom, but because of COVID and the after effects of it, we currently meet on Zoom at 3:30. We run over, the accomplishments of the students. That's immediately how we start off our meetings. Who competed in the last tournament, who succeeded in that, And, if they won a prize, we make sure to mention it. And if they didn't, we mention it as well, because they put themselves out there and they did something that they might not have felt entirely comfortable with. We meet until 4:00 p.m. around there, 4:30, and we host tournaments for other students to come to our school and compete as well. And we created a program called the Speech Outreach Program, in which we go to local elementary schools and we help them to start a speech and debate club within their school so that those students can also find their voice within their club.
Oh, and it looks like we maybe lost Minche there for a minute. So, Anira, you touched upon how your experience has changed a little bit, right? From pre-COVID to during COVID, talking about meeting in person versus virtually. Can you expand a little bit about what those changes have looked like?
Sure. So speech and debate, at least in this school, has always been sort of a humongous club with students from 6th grade up until 12th grade. Before COVID, like I said, we used to meet in person inside of a classroom. And while we had a lot of students, it's small, I guess you could say, in comparison to the amount that we have now. Last year, during my junior year, and during what I call the year of COVID, we had 80 participants in speech and debate. Most of them were in middle school going on to high school, so around 8th and 9th grade. And we met virtually around the same time. And what I would say is the biggest difference is that we've been able to have more people join our club, but we've lost a sense of connection that was there. We've lost, the ability to go up to a person and say, you inspired me, because now you have to unmute your mic and try to speak over 5 different people to be able to do that. So while I am, honored to be the president of Speech and Debate and to be able to lead so many students, I do wish that we could go back to a time where it was more one-on-one and where I could go up to a 6th grader who just competed and won first place for the first time in original oratory, which is my favorite category. And I could say, you did amazing. And I'm so incredibly proud of you for where you are.
Amazing. And what does your program look like now, right? You're meeting virtually. You've said there's more students. You say you miss that one-on-one connection. Are there any ways that you still get those feelings? Are there any positives, right, to being more virtual now?
Right. So luckily we have an amazing team on our board, and we have a really great mentor sponsor, and we host one-on-one trainings with the students. So the board members at the beginning of the year gave out their schedules and the days that they have availability, and students were able to choose who they wanted to be their mentor, I guess you could say. And we have, like I said, one-on-one trainings, so a student can send me a message and say, hey, I'm competing in the April competition, and I would really like your help because I'm doing the Lincoln Douglas debate and I'm kind of unsure on how to go about that. And then we have either a Zoom meeting or we'll try to meet in person right after school. And we go over debate topics or speech topics, and there are positives. Like I said, we get to have more people engaged, and I think at the end of the day, that's the most amazing thing about speech and debate, allowing kids to find that voice that they've always felt they might not have, or people won't want to listen to them. Because people are forced to listen to them for 10 minutes straight, kids are able to find themselves and find what matters most to them through speech.
What are some of the topics that you've covered over the course of speech and debate?
So like I've said, I mostly focused on original oratory, which is a 10-minute speech backed up with evidence about a topic that is very important to you. And my favorite speech, top 2, I have 2 favorite speeches. My first one is I spoke about the importance of expressing your emotions and not suppressing what you feel. I did a lot of evidence. I researched a lot of information about that topic specifically, found that you can actually get cancer and heart disease from suppressing your emotions because there's so much that goes into that. I competed in districts with that. I unfortunately lost, which I'm not mad about, but I'm still a little bit, offended, but it's okay. It's okay. And I've also written a speech on the importance of after school programs, actually, and I presented it in the Florida After School Alliance conference. And it's been my competition speech for a few other competitions. I've done duo interpretation on the importance of not judging a book by its cover. I've done a dramatic interpretation on the importance of finding yourself and not entirely depending on another person, because at the end of the day, you are who you are, and that's what's most important. And I've also done a declamation on a speech by President Ronald Reagan on the importance of unity as a country and working together to form a more perfect union.
Amazing. That's a wide range of topics. And just to update folks, it seems like Minche's internet popped off. So we are seeing if we can have her rejoin as well. But thank you, Inaire, for being the sport that you are and getting this one-on-one interview for the beginning of this session. You mentioned you participate in a variety of after-school activities and clubs. What are some of the other ones that you participate in, and how do those bring value to your life?
So I'm currently in the Science National Honor Society. I serve as their treasurer. I serve as president of the National English Honor Society and president of the Youth Advisory Committee. I am vice president of the Florida Law Honor Society and treasurer of Rho Kappa, which is the Social Studies Honor Society. I'm also in Quill and Scroll, which is the Journalism Honor Society. I'm in the newspaper club at my school, the Marine Environmental Club, and a few others here and there. I don't remember them off the top of my head. Oh, I'm in Psi Alpha. I remembered that because I have a meeting today, and the Spanish Honor Society. I would say that although this sounds like a lot, each club has impacted me in one way or another, and it has been my honor to serve as a board member in several of these clubs and to also just be a member in the club. I would say that they've impacted me in that, like I've said, they've given me a voice. They've allowed me to explore so many different options, so many different pathways in life. Otherwise, I would have just stuck to being a lawyer since I was 5 years old. And although I do want to be a lawyer, I've been able to see a wider range. And this year when I was choosing my major for college, I had to choose between biomedical engineer because of the Science National Honor Society. I had to choose between accountant because I'm in the Mu Alpha Theta, which is the Math Honor Society. I had to choose between a lawyer because I'm in the Florida Law Honor Society. And it's just being able to connect with so many people and find so many opportunities through these after school clubs that I otherwise might not have been able to.
Well, I have to say, I think that your resume is longer than mine. So you are very, very accomplished. And just one small plug that you don't have to have it all figured out now as you talk about choosing your major. We do have Minche back as well. So I'm going to pop it over to Minche to give kind of the typical day at her after school program as well.
Hi, sorry, laptops are annoying. It just shut down on me out of nowhere, but I'm here, and a normal day out of my after school program. So as I said in the introduction, I am representing my robotics team, and Inaide has so many wonderful clubs on her resume, and they all sound so amazing. But for me, I just stuck to two main after school programs and chose to dig deep with it. And One was my robotics team and the other is my newspaper program. And I'm just going to focus on the robotics team because it has impacted me so much in so many different ways. Thinking back to before the pandemic, we have long hours every day. We come right to the auto shop at 3 right after school, and we go till 9 p.m. every day. So it's a really big commitment. And from there, we gain so many things that really make it seem like a little society in its own. We work on the robot, obviously, but we also have subdivisions that also do different things that correlate with our activities, such as writing essays for awards that we could receive for our work, or take photos and videos about what we do. So there are a lot of subdivisions, but I'm working in the electrical subdivision, and we basically fire the robot, obviously, but I am leading the subdivision, which means that I get so many perspectives from different people, which means I get to see the perspective of a leader, a subdivision leader. I get to see the perspective of a friend that I have made so many different relationships and friendships through this team. And I also see it as a student, as a human being. And when you are stuck in a fixed curriculum at school, yes, you are learning academically, and yes, you are working with a lot of people in your school, but it doesn't allow you to be flexible with your roles, which is what after school programs do. I saw what type of robotics do you guys do? So we are part of the first robotics competition league, which has an overarching organization called FIRST. And through that league, there's many different levels of competition, but we're on the high school competing level. And we also mentor to other types of robotics, like the different leagues. So if you guys have any questions regarding any type of robotics like that are correlating with FIRST, then I am very happy to answer your questions. And yeah, we have competitions. We obviously eat there, dinners and stuff. We also have a lot of, we have eating going on, talking, a lot of talking. There was a mask mandate placed on us 2 years ago, and we're still dealing with that. So there's many different things about it right now.
So jumping in, there's a bunch of questions in the chat, and folks keep putting them in, and I'll share them out to our youth as we get them. But you both described that you're in leadership positions, right, within your clubs. Can you talk about that experience a little bit, and maybe a little bit about how you got there?
So I was a historian for the Youth Advisory Committee in my junior year of high school. And this year, or I guess you could say last year, that weird transition in summer that nobody knows what to call it, during that time. So our sponsor went up to me and she was like, hey, nobody's running for president. We don't have a president right now for this club. And she asked me if I would step in and do that because I have been a part of the Youth Advisory Committee, which works with the Children's Trust, a small organization here in Miami-Dade. I had been in it for the past 3 years. Community service is literally my favorite thing ever. and I love to do beach cleanups, and I love to work with younger students and, sort of just collaborate and hear from them, learn from them, because at the end of the day, they end up teaching me more than I could ever show them anything different. For speech and debate, I've been in that club for 7 years. I started it in my old school, and it's just been a continuation. Like I said, being able to find my voice, fight for what I believe in, and fight for what others believe in, because sometimes people feel like they can't speak out loud or they can't say what they want. So I try to provide that avenue for them. And thank God I was voted president of this club and of a few other leadership positions. It's been sort of the same thing, in the sense that it's clubs that have inspired me, um, clubs that have had leaders who have led me. And I never want to see myself as a boss. I always want to see myself as a leader, not someone who tells you what to do, but someone who advises you. And from there, we work together to find the best solution. So that's about that.
So there's actually many leadership positions in our robotics team, because we're not just a robotics team. We do a lot of outreach around us. There's community outreach and there's international outreach. So I'm currently leading two subdivisions. One is our electrical subdivision, and the other one is our project outreach subdivision, where we work to mentor other teams in our area. So it would include basically all of Bergen County in New Jersey. So just to talk about how I got there and how I became a member and a leader in the first place. It goes back to when I was in middle school. I was this awkward, weird kid that doesn't know anything about everything. And I joined our middle school robotics team, and there was a family there. We worked long hours, just not as long as the current hours, obviously, but they were still long for a middle schooler. And I found the sense of belonging when I was still struggling to find out who I was. And so I joined that. We went pretty far. We went to the World Championship, and riding long bus rides with the same people and being stuck in the same room with the same people gave me a sense of community and, as I said, belonging. And then I came to high school, and it's right back where I started when I was in 6th grade. It was just, I used to be at the top of the pyramid, and now I'm a freshman. Everything has reset itself, and there were a lot of veteran members on my robotics team, my high school robotics team, that knew me, and I really idolized and were very inspired by them to achieve just as much. So I joined that team. But then at first, I didn't see myself as something that could achieve too many things. Yes, I strive to do more and more, but I didn't think I was able to do anything leadership related. I was this shy kid that thought that I couldn't do anything. And then this opportunity of youth ambassadorship just kind of was like, hello, we exist. You can submit your application. And that was actually when I was first talking about leadership, and really joining my club enabled me to take this ambassadorship. And I really learned lifelong skills, how to talk with people and how to convey who I was properly to others and portray myself as who I wanted to seem like and portray myself as. So yeah.
you are both such strong leaders and such huge inspirations, definitely to me, every single day. You both just talked about seeing other people in positions, right, when you were younger and being inspired by those other students, right, and being like, huh, maybe that's something that I can do, or maybe not even thinking that that was something that you wanted or could do moving forward. Can you talk a little bit about the adults and the adult mentors in your life through your programs and the impact that they've had on your trajectory?
So I've had, luckily, so many important people in my life that have shown me how to embrace who I am and not be afraid to come out of my shell and say, hey guys, I'm here and I have something to say and you should probably listen because it's pretty important. Um, I would say that my top mentors within my program, and I'm part of a magnet school where we have different sections, and I'm currently in the entertainment law magnet. I would say that one of my greatest mentors has been my teacher, Mrs. Salazar. She has shown me to be humble and yet to know where I stand and to not let people, walk all over me, and to take a position if I feel that it is necessary, or if I want to see a difference, to be that difference. Not be the person that sits on the sidelines and watches other people try to do it, but be there as well and attempt and work hard for what I want to achieve. Um, I've also had my sponsor, Mrs. Figueroa, who has inspired me to never be afraid, like I said, to take a stance. If there is something that I want in life, that I should run with the wind and go and try to do it. And, if I fail, it's a life lesson. And if I win, it's pretty nice. I get to put that on my resume every now and then. It's pretty fun. I've also had my principal, Dr. Balsero, who has been an inspiration for me. He lent me the recording studio for this meeting, so that's pretty amazing. And, he's also told me, like, never be afraid of dreaming and never be afraid of going after your dreams. You can do anything you put your mind to, despite who you are or despite what other people say. As long as you have the courage to go out there and do something, then you can achieve whatever you put your mind to.
Yeah. And I actually covered a lot of personal experience that overlap with mine. And since Anida did so awesome with that, I thought maybe covering the aspect of where my mentors would stand when I first started high school. So coming into high school, just, you don't even have to dig further to like imagine what it would be like in terms of awkwardness and just not knowing anything. And so you are in this large building that looks so much bigger than your old school, and you don't know half the class in your English class, and all the teachers look so frightening and they all look so serious, and the assignments get longer. And when I first met our mentors on our robotics team, there's Mr. Killian, there's Jack, there's Lisa. They all were telling me that it's okay to be this awkward, frightened kid. I was like, well, that's a first, because you're always graded and you receive feedback on your grades through something called GPA. So, but they were telling me that it's okay. This is not school. We're in a club, and it's a competing team, but we don't give you GPAs, or we don't give you, yes, you can put stuff on your resume, but if you want to, you can just chill and just hang out. And they really gave me a sense that it's okay to be scared. And when I first started this youth ambassadorship, Mr. Killian gave me a kind of guide in a sense of what to do in terms of pressure. And it seemed like such a big deal for me, and it is a big deal for me. I'm representing my team, and there's no one just kind of that live near me, and I'm the only one, you know. But yeah, he told me it's okay to make mistakes, and I really needed that. I really needed the sense of if you fall on your face, you don't bleed. It's okay. So yeah.
Thank you both for those answers. I'm a firm believer in mistakes are how you grow. And there are certainly no mistakes when it comes to sharing out about your experiences. Great question came up in the chat, which is from April Fleming, that says, what training do you recommend staff should have that you think is essential for today's programming?
I think first and foremost, the importance of mental health training. As we grow as a society, I think we become more open to understanding kids and understanding that they go through the same struggles that adults do. And they have their emotions that need to be acknowledged and recognized. And if they need help, that they should feel free to reach out and find someone that can help them. I think that is the most important one. I think, staff also need to be aware of like how students are, I guess you could say, or how the youth is. We've become more okay with saying what we feel, and we've become more okay with telling someone that they're wrong. And a lot of the time it comes off as disrespectful, and sometimes it is. But I can assure you that most students are not trying to be disrespectful. They're just trying to advocate for themselves and tell people, hey, you're putting me into a box, and I don't belong in a box. I belong outside of the box where I can be free to think for myself and be who I am. I think that this also goes into sort of an off-topic conversation that is standardized testing. Forcing students to think one specific way, learn a specific way, be a specific way, when each and every single person has a different personality, a different mindset. And I think it's the need to recognize that, and staff training that could help teachers to recognize that. I think that would be something that would be really great to be implemented in schools.
Going off of Anaide, it was when I tried to think about training that teachers could receive, specific types of training, I couldn't really think of a specific training program or some type of training, because when it comes to after school programs, mentors are bound to have to be flexible with everything and every aspect, just because, as I said before, it's basically a small society of a small model of today's world. And in that world, it's very hard for students to get 100% of what it's offering if that world is not flexible. And I also believe mentors are what essentially drive the program. And yes, students are important, and students build the program, and they come out with amazing results. Mentors really and teachers really provide that structure that students can follow. So I think in terms of that, just really knowing their stuff in whatever the program is targeting, such as like speech and debate, they really need to know how to talk and how to basically I'm not sure if this is the right term, but referee debates, and just really being sure and knowing their stuff with what the program is trying to tackle is very helpful for students to get an idea of, okay, where should we go, or like what should we do. Also, another aspect I wanted to share is what I felt as a student is that adults, they tend to say, yes, we like to hear from you and listen to you, but that isn't often the case, where they think that if there are conflicting opinions or voices among students and teachers, they often tend to just disregard the youth and their voice. So listening to students and really acknowledging the fact that they have a say in how this program runs is very, very important.
Fantastic responses. I think I honed into a few things that you guys said. One being the importance of being a good listener, right? And being able to hear and see what your students may need in terms of support, and then also content matter expertise. And then I think that you both spoke to the flexibility of, or the need for flexibility of the adults in your programs to, again, see what you guys need and adjust to accommodate that, and adjust to listen to what you're saying. A question that you both have answered numerous times through our Youth Ambassador program is, right, like, what do you think that policymakers need to know about after school programs right now? And I'm going to change that question a little bit for you guys and have it be, what do you think that programs need to know about your experiences now, and where they should be going next?
So I think what we really need to focus on is the expansion of programs and the accessibility to low-income families, to families that may not be located in largely populated areas. For example, the Youth Advisory Committee, it is focused on community service. It is focused on reaching out and having the kids be the ones that make a difference instead of the adults. So currently we're hosting an event April 30th, and it is called Warrior Women Win Day, and we bring female veterans that are on the verge of homelessness, and we have been able to find Marriott hotels to give them job interviews. We're building their resumes. We are getting different products donated to the women. We got professional clothing donated to the women, and we're giving them free yoga classes. I think having clubs like that expanded to more kids, I think that's the most important thing. Right now, the Youth Advisory Committee is located only in South Florida, and it's not even, unfortunately, accessible to all kids in South Florida. And I think that's what we need to focus on, because there are so many children across America that have hopes, that have dreams, that have what they need to accomplish so much in their lives. And without an after school program that gives them that push, or that gives them that opening to do exactly that, a lot of kids are just unfortunately not reaching their expectations. They're not reaching the highest point that they can be at. So that's definitely what I would like after school programs to do, or to know to do, I guess you can say, to be more accessible to all, whether that means going virtual or just opening smaller programs across their county. For example, what Speech and Debate is doing with the speech outreach program. Little things. It's the little things that make a big difference in a person's life. And I think if we continue that, then we can truly, truly make a change.
Okay, so Anida actually talked about a bunch of changes clubs can make in terms of change. And I also want to add to that we cannot not address the fact that we had a COVID-19 pandemic. And that pandemic has influenced so many young students and families in general over all aspects. And when you look towards the future, there's so many things that COVID-19 has changed for the worse in terms of after school programs. For example, in our robotics team, there's a gap between the incoming freshmen and the juniors and seniors, the upperclassmen. So looking at what caused the gap and what caused the disconnection between the lower classmen and upperclassmen, COVID-19 has played a big, big role. And really, I think it's very important for clubs to address that. Yes, there is a difference that the pandemic has caused in clubs, and also sometimes striving for normalcy and striving for a bit going back to before pre-COVID states is also something that clubs can strive, because no matter what club you're in and no matter what activities you're doing, if there is communication going on between people, and if the after school club was made to address young people, then the disconnection in communication cannot be just disregarded. So I think that is one of the main things that after school programs can start to address.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. So now I'm just going to tie it back to the title of the session, What Youth Need Now. What do you guys need right now from your programs, from your support networks?
We need support. We need a little bit more of a push. I think that because of everything that happened with COVID, I know this is going to sound so bad, but we have become more lenient, and we have let things slide, which in the beginning was good, but I feel like our youth is getting used to that. We're getting used to, oh, we'll just do that later, or oh, we don't need to worry about that. Someone else will take care of it for us. You know, we can't really have that mindset being brought on to students, because students need to be able to think for themselves. They need to be able to fend for themselves. They need to be able to say, there is something going on here and I don't want to let somebody else do it. I want to be the one that does it myself, because clearly nothing's working, nothing's getting fixed. So I would hope that I've been able to be that person that's pushed students to do more, to not be afraid to say something, speak up if they have to. And that's what I would mainly say is our after school programs they need to push students to be better. We need to stop giving people breaks, I guess you can say. Like I said, I know that sounds terrible, but we really do need to have students be independent again. You know, I think we've learned not to pressure kids and not to tell kids that they need to do everything perfectly. There's no such thing as perfect. We don't need perfect. We need the best a person can be. And after school programs can push students to be the best that they can be. And we need to see that happening again.
Yeah, actually, adding on to Anide, I have a sheet of paper writing notes down next to me, and I wrote environment for independence. And what that means is when you're in school, there's not really much room for independence. You're usually given a test or a project to work on, and that's pretty much it. And if you are given some type of project that is more lenient with directions, it still gives you a structure and a box that you need to create your final product in. And I think after school programs can do so that there is no boundary in terms of independence, and there's actually less room for dependence. And when you're looking towards, well, too much independence is not really good, and there needs to be a balance between independence and dependence, and looking for a good source for dependence is on people. And I think after school programs can provide that balance of independence in work, but dependence within community and within people. I also think resources is a big one. There is a lot of struggle between the transition from high school to college. And what I'm saying is there's a lot of, it's very tough to find exposure to what we're interested in, like for career choices and etc. If we decide that we're interested like 2 years before graduation, it's very difficult. So if clubs could provide that type of support in terms of resource that young people can go to, and they're confident in finding support, then I think that would be a great thing to have.
Amazing. Miche, I think your second point, right, of connecting students to more and more opportunities speaks to what both you and Anire said about providing students the opportunity for independence. Well, I love the framework you set up, Miche, while also being a dependable place, right, for community, family, and support. So thank you guys so much. That is all that we have for you today, everybody. Big virtual round of applause for both Miche and Anire. So many comments in the chat saying how well-spoken you both are, and how wonderful it was to have you with us today. So thank you guys, as always, for your expertise. And it was an amazing conversation. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.